Thank you for visiting our channel. Please like, share and subscribe for more exciting food videos. In part 2, we'll focus on how to add walnuts for the perfect crunch and finish your brownies with the best baking tips. Chopping versus leaving walnuts whole, texture play. The way you prepare your walnuts influences the experience of eating the brownie. Do you prefer a distinct, large crunch, or a more subtle, dispersed texture? The choice between using large pieces or finely chopped nuts affects the aesthetics and the textural impact within the fudgy batter. Whole or halved walnuts. Using large pieces provides maximum texture contrast. When a person bites into the brownie, they hit a solid piece of crunch. Large walnuts are also visually appealing, especially when pressed into the top of the batter before baking. They signal the nutty goodness throughout the treat. Save your best-looking walnuts for this decorative touch. Finely chopped walnuts. Chopping the walnuts fine allows the crunch to be more evenly distributed throughout every bite. You lose some of the dramatic crunch but gain a pleasant, consistent pop of texture in the background. This method is excellent if you prefer the walnuts to blend seamlessly with the fudgy interior rather than stand out dramatically. For the ideal brownie, we recommend a mix. Use mostly chopped walnuts inside the batter for consistent crunch, and scatter a few larger pieces on top to hint at the delicious contents and provide satisfyingly big bites. When to add walnuts, mixing for even distribution. Timing is important when integrating crunchy elements into a viscous batter. Adding walnuts too early or mixing them too aggressively can negatively affect both the batter and the nuts themselves. Preventing sinking. Walnuts are relatively light, but they can still sink to the bottom of the pan if the batter is runny or if they are mixed in too early. By adding them near the end, you ensure their distribution remains even throughout the thick batter. Maintaining integrity. Overmixing walnuts in the batter can cause them to break down further, turning beautiful chunks into small crumbs. This results in a gritty texture instead of a pronounced crunch. Remember, the goal is crunchy nuts, not pulverized ones. The best time to introduce the toasted and cooled walnuts is right before you pour the batter into your prepared pan. After combining all wet and dry ingredients, and just before the final mix, carefully dump the toasted walnuts into the bowl. Use a spatula to gently fold the walnuts into the batter only until they are just incorporated. This usually takes just 4 or 5 gentle folds. Stop mixing the moment you see the walnuts distributed. Immediately transfer the batter into the baking pan. This gentle folding technique protects the integrity of the nuts and maintains the proper structure of your brownie batter, leading to maximum crunch in the finished product. Essential brownie ingredient checklist and baking tips. Getting that perfect fudgy brownie depends entirely on using the right ingredients in a balanced way. It is not just about the chocolate and walnuts. The supporting cast significantly influences texture and flavor. Paying attention to these details helps push your brownies from good to truly excellent. Here are the items that need your complete attention before you mix your next batch. Choosing the right sugar, granulated versus brown sugar balance. Sugar is often overlooked, but it contributes far more than sweetness. It defines the final texture and moistness of your walnut brownies. Most recipes call for a combination of white granulated sugar and brown sugar for a specific reason. White granulated sugar and structure. Granulated white sugar helps provide structure and creates the essential crispy, shiny top layer characteristic of fudgy brownies. It dries out the batter slightly, encouraging that attractive crackled finish. Brown sugar for moisture and flavor. Brown sugar holds the secret to deeply moist, fudgy brownies. The molasses content gives brown sugar 3 key advantages. Moisture. Molasses is hygroscopic, meaning it traps moisture effectively. Using brown sugar ensures your brownies stay soft and fudgy days after baking. Chewiness. The added moisture and slight acidity from brown sugar further inhibits gluten formation, creating a wonderfully chewy texture. Caramel note. Molasses provides a subtle caramel or toffee note that beautifully complements the deep bitterness of the chocolate and the earthiness of the walnuts. For perfectly balanced walnut brownies, opt for recipes that use at least a 50-50 mix of brown and white sugar. If you prefer extremely fudgy results, slightly increase the brown sugar ratio. The critical role of salt in enhancing chocolate and nuts. Salt does not just make your brownies taste less bland, it acts as a central flavor amplifier. In a sweet dessert like a walnut brownie, salt is non-negotiable. It contrasts the sweetness, making the intense chocolate flavor pop. Why salt is crucial? Think of salt as the background musician that brings the entire band, chocolate, butter, sugar, walnuts, into harmony. Cutting sweetness. Too much sugar can overwhelm the palate. Salt provides the necessary counterpoint to keep the dessert balanced and appealing. Highlighting chocolate. Salt significantly deepens and enhances the natural bitterness and complexity of the cocoa solids. Without it, the chocolate can taste dull and flat. Elevating walnuts. Salt makes the toasted, nutty flavor of the walnuts more pronounced. This contrast is key to ensuring the walnuts contribute meaningfully to every bite and are not lost in the rich batter. Use the instructed amount of fine salt within the recipe, usually at least 1 teaspoon for a standard batch. For a professional finish, you can take a final step. Flaky finishing salt. Just before placing the pan in the oven or immediately upon cooling, sprinkle a few pinches of flaky sea salt over the top of the batter. These large salt crystals provide intermittent bursts of salinity, adding a sophisticated textural crunch and flavor contrast that elevates the entire experience. How long to bake? Testing for that perfect gooey center. Baking brownies is a test of patience, and knowing when to pull them out of the oven is the single most important factor for achieving a fudgy center. Overbaking is the primary reason brownies turn dry and cakey. Remember, achieving a fudgy texture means accepting a slightly underbaked state when the pan leaves the oven. The toothpick test for fudgy results. Forget the rule about the toothpick coming out clean. If you wait until a toothpick is absolutely clean, your brownies will be overcooked by the time they cool. To test for perfection, insert a wooden toothpick or a thin metal skewer approximately 1 inch from the edge of the pan. The edges. The edges should appear set, slightly pulling away from the sides of the pan. The center. Insert the toothpick halfway between the edge and the center. Pull it out. Perfect result. The toothpick should not be wet with raw batter. Instead, it should emerge with moist, sticky crumbs clinging to it. You want just enough structure, but still plenty of gooey goodness. If the toothpick comes out clean or mostly clean, your brownies are likely already too dry. If it is entirely wet with uncooked batter, bake for another 2 to 3 minutes and test again. Residual baking. Brownies continue to cook after you remove them from the oven. The residual heat in the pan keeps baking the center for up to 20 minutes. Removing the brownies when they are slightly underdone ensures that this carryover heat bakes them to that ideal fudgy state, resulting in a dense, moist square once completely cooled. We covered the core principles for achieving truly exceptional walnut brownies. Remember, fudgy results come from careful ingredient ratios, specifically, balancing higher fat and egg yolks with cocoa and melted chocolate. This dense interior perfectly supports the essential crunch provided by the walnuts. Toasting your walnuts thoroughly transforms their flavor from bland to deeply nutty, ensuring they hold their own against the rich chocolate. Bringing this expertise into your kitchen guarantees a better outcome. To get those beautiful, clean slices, always let your brownies cool completely for several hours before cutting them. Waiting allows the internal structure to fully set, minimizing crumbs and mess. Master these techniques, and you will consistently bake decadent, fudgy walnut brownies every time. Now go ahead, treat yourself to a perfect, homemade square. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like, share and subscribe.